we uncover the shocking moment Sean "Diddy" Combs breaks down in court as his attorney presents a devastating piece of evidence. A video featuring a teenage Justin Bieber. The video takes us back to a time when Bieber was under the influence of the industry's dark side, offering an emotional glimpse into his past. As the pressure mounts and the weight of the accusations intensifies, Diddy's composure cracks, revealing the gravity of the situation. Stay tuned as we analyze this pivotal moment and its impact on the ongoing legal battle that could dismantle Diddy's empire. The fall of a mogul, Sean "Diddy" Combs, and the dark allegations surrounding his empire. Sean "Diddy" Combs, once an indomitable figure in the entertainment world, is now facing the most formidable legal challenges of his life. His journey from the heights of fame and influence to the depths of scandal has shocked both fans and critics alike, leaving many questioning how such a powerful figure could fall so far from grace. Recently, the legal drama took another dark turn, with the issuance of a superseding indictment against Combs, which replaced the original charges filed against him. The most striking development in this new indictment is the addition of 2 more victims, expanding the scope of the alleged crimes and further complicating his legal battles. The allegations against Diddy are not just another lawsuit or fleeting media gossip. This indictment marks the beginning of a much more serious legal reckoning for a man who once stood at the apex of hip-hop culture and business. What makes this moment particularly jarring is the fact that Diddy, who built his empire on an image of untouchable power and control, was visibly shaken by the developments. For the first time in his career, the mogul known for his bravado and near-invincible public persona appeared genuinely afraid as the weight of these new charges became evident. The web of allegations, more than just a lawsuit. To fully grasp the significance of this moment, it's crucial to understand the complex web of allegations that Diddy now finds himself caught in. Over the past several months, multiple lawsuits and federal charges have been filed against him, painting a disturbing portrait of a man whose private life and business dealings are now under intense scrutiny. These charges include accusations of sexual assault, abuse, and exploitation, which have not only tarnished his reputation, but also placed his entire empire at risk. In one of the most high-profile cases, Diddy is accused in a civil lawsuit of raping a woman referred to as Jane Doe. The lawsuit claims that the assault occurred at a home following the 2000 Video Music Awards when the victim was just 13 years old. The victim's allegations were initially filed against Diddy alone, but weeks later, attorney Tony Busby, representing the plaintiff, amended the complaint to include Jay-Z as a co-defendant. This amended filing claimed that Jay-Z was also involved in the assault. The allegations in this case go beyond simple accusations. They are deeply troubling and suggest a pattern of predatory behavior within the entertainment industry. The case has sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, with whispers of a lifestyle so dark and depraved that even those closest to Diddy, including high-profile figures like Jay-Z, have distanced themselves from him. For those who have followed Diddy's rise to fame, these revelations are nothing short of shocking, as they suggest a level of control and manipulation that seemed unimaginable given his public image. The shadow of Justin Bieber's early career. Diddy's alleged influence. Amidst these grave allegations, one figure has become particularly prominent in the narrative surrounding Diddy's downfall: pop star Justin Bieber. The early years of Bieber's career have long been the subject of scrutiny, especially regarding his relationships with industry figures like Diddy. In the years since Bieber's rise to fame, many fans and critics have speculated about the nature of his connection with Diddy, especially after the mogul's arrest and the subsequent resurfacing of old footage. In a clip from 2009, a young Bieber then just 15 years old, is seen alongside Diddy, who boasts about spending 48 hours with the teenage pop star. At the time, the exchange seemed like little more than an odd interaction between a celebrity and his young protege. However, in light of the recent allegations against Diddy, the clip has taken on a more sinister tone. Diddy's comment, "It's definitely a 15-year-old's dream," now feels unsettling, given the context of the abuse claims that have come to light. What makes this footage even more troubling is the fact that Diddy seemed to take an unusually paternalistic role in Bieber's life during these years. Diddy's comments about legal guardianship and his assertion that he was responsible for Bieber's activities during those 48 hours raise serious questions about the mogul's influence over the young star. The suggestion that Bieber, a 15-year-old who had just entered the industry, was placed under Diddy's care in such an intimate way raises red flags about the nature of their relationship and the potential for exploitation. In the years that followed, Bieber's association with Diddy continued, and the two were frequently seen together in public. However, after Diddy's arrest, there was a noticeable shift in Bieber's behavior. Fans and media outlets began to take a closer look at Bieber's early career, including his connections to Diddy and other industry figures. It became increasingly clear that Bieber's early years in the music industry were shaped by powerful individuals who may not have had his best interests at heart. The dark side of Hollywood: initiation and exploitation. As the allegations against Diddy grew more severe, many began to question the larger culture of Hollywood and the music industry, an environment that often prioritizes fame, power, and wealth over the well-being of young, impressionable stars. The entertainment industry has long been criticized for its predatory behavior, especially toward young talent. In the case of Diddy and Bieber, it seems that Bieber may have been subjected to an initiation of sorts, with Diddy playing a central role in his early years in the industry. The disturbing implications of Diddy's influence over young stars like Bieber and Usher cannot be ignored. Allegations against Diddy include claims that he controlled and exploited young artists, subjecting them to what insiders have referred to as freak-offs, parties where sexual acts and exploitation were allegedly normalized. The resurfaced footage of Diddy with Bieber, in which he discusses spending 48 hours with the young star, now takes on a more ominous meaning when viewed in the context of these accusations. In hindsight, it appears that Bieber's early career was shaped by powerful figures who may have used their influence to manipulate him, and Diddy, in particular, seems to have played a role in this dynamic. Given Diddy's notorious reputation for controlling and dominating those around him, the question arises: why were young stars like Bieber placed under his influence at such a vulnerable time in their lives? The answer, as it seems, is tied to the culture of exploitation and manipulation that runs deep within the entertainment industry, a culture that has allowed individuals like Diddy to operate with little regard for the well-being of those under their control. A legacy at risk: the legal battle and Diddy's public image. As Diddy faces these accusations, his public image and legacy are being slowly dismantled. The once untouchable mogul is now grappling with the weight of numerous lawsuits, criminal charges, and public backlash. His reputation as a business tycoon and music mogul has been forever tainted by the allegations, and his legal team is working tirelessly to defend him in court. Despite his efforts, the damage to his reputation may be irreparable. Diddy's once commanding presence in the world of hip-hop, fashion, and media has been overshadowed by the cloud of scandal surrounding him. The legal proceedings are far from over, and it remains to be seen whether Diddy will be able to rebuild his empire or whether he will face the full consequences of his alleged actions. The fall of an icon. Reflection on Diddy's legacy. Diddy's fall from grace serves as a stark reminder of the darker side of the entertainment industry. Once a man who built an empire on confidence, power, and a carefully cultivated public image, he now finds himself embroiled in the very scandals that have shattered his public persona. The ongoing legal battles and the disturbing allegations against him paint a picture of a man who may have used his influence to exploit and manipulate those around him, particularly young stars like Justin Bieber. For Diddy, the road ahead is uncertain. As he faces numerous legal challenges and the public fallout from these allegations, it remains to be seen whether he will be able to recover his legacy or whether this chapter of his life will define him forever. One thing is clear: the entertainment industry's dark underbelly has been exposed, and the fallout from Diddy's fall from grace is likely to reverberate for years to come. Justin Bieber's troubling journey. A deeper look into his early years. On January 4th, 2023, a seemingly innocuous social media moment between pop superstar Justin Bieber and his controversial manager, Scooter Braun, turned into something far more telling. Fans quickly noticed that Bieber and Braun had unfollowed each other on Instagram, signaling the growing tension between them. Soon, it became evident that Bieber had blocked Braun entirely, an indication that their once solid professional relationship had now soured. This move wasn't an isolated act. It seemed to confirm the rumors swirling about a rift that had been building for some time. Bieber wasn't alone in this act. His wife, Hailey Baldwin, also blocked Braun, further signaling the breaking of ties between the family and the music mogul. This digital move came on the heels of a resurfaced video in which Bieber, visibly emotional, opened up about the struggles he faced as a young artist in the industry. In a 2020 interview with Zane Lowe for Apple Music, Bieber spoke candidly about the pain he endured as a teenager thrust into the limelight, unable to trust anyone and constantly surrounded by people who, in his words, turned their back on you in a second. In the same breath, Bieber expressed a desire to protect rising stars like Billie Eilish, who, much like him, found herself navigating the treacherous waters of fame at a young age. It was during this moment that the depth of Bieber's pain was evident, his voice cracking as he spoke about the need to shield young talent from the industry's darker undercurrents. "I want her to know she can count on me," Bieber said of Eilish, his protective instincts kicking in as he recounted the trauma he had experienced. "People take their encounters for granted," he added, suggesting an awareness of the predatory nature that can often pervade the industry. This interview now carries a new weight, as fans and the media began connecting the dots between Bieber's past experiences and the rising accusations against Diddy. The allegations against Sean Combs, the empire crumbles. The legal storm surrounding Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, began with a single accusation, a lawsuit filed by an aspiring musician known only as John Doe. According to the lawsuit, Doe claimed that Diddy drugged and assaulted him at a 2015 after-party. This case was only the beginning, as more victims came forward, and the scope of Diddy's alleged crimes expanded beyond a single incident. New lawsuits filed by unnamed individuals added further fuel to the fire, each detailing similar experiences of abuse, manipulation, and exploitation. One particularly disturbing case involves a Jane Doe who, in 2000, claimed she was only 13 years old when she was allegedly assaulted by both Diddy and rapper Jay-Z. According to her account, she had traveled to New York City for the Video Music Awards, where she and a friend were told by one of Diddy's limo drivers that they would be taken to an after-party. Once there, she was given a drink that she now believes was drugged, and after feeling woozy, she found a place to lie down. It was at this point that she alleges she was assaulted by Diddy and Jay-Z. The lawsuit described a freak-off, a term Diddy himself had used to describe his private, drug-fueled parties, as a space where young victims were exploited under the guise of industry networking. These parties, according to former associates of Diddy, often involved drugs such as ketamine, Molly, and alcohol, with women, men, and even celebrities allegedly caught in the crossfire. The power dynamics at play were insidious. Vulnerable individuals were manipulated into believing they could achieve fame and success if they aligned themselves with Diddy's world. Inside Diddy's world, the alleged dark side of Hollywood. Phil Pines, a former senior executive assistant to Diddy, opened up about his experiences during his time with the mogul. Between 2019 and 2021, Pines claims to have been asked by Diddy to purchase supplies for events that were often referred to as Wild King Nights. According to Pines, these events were far from innocent gatherings. They involved a laundry list of drugs, including alcohol, marijuana, and harder substances like ketamine and Molly. As these requests became more frequent, Pines began to notice a disturbing pattern. Many of the women involved in these parties appeared to be much younger, with some even being minors. Pines, who was at Diddy's disposal to carry out these requests, recalled witnessing a troubling power dynamic that made him uneasy. "A more impressionable girl is easier to reel in," he said, hinting at the vulnerability of the women who were drawn into Diddy's orbit. He also shared a chilling account of a time when Diddy allegedly grabbed him by the shoulders and told him to prove your loyalty by pushing him toward a girl sitting on a couch. It was a moment that highlighted the darker side of the music mogul's empire, where consent was manipulated and boundaries were blurred. These revelations about Diddy's world are not just allegations. They paint a picture of a culture within the entertainment industry that prioritized power, control, and exploitation. This culture was not limited to one individual, but was part of a broader system that allowed powerful figures to operate with impunity. And now, as Diddy's legal battles unfold, more and more people are coming forward, revealing the full extent of the abuse and manipulation that took place behind closed doors. The struggle for justice. Will the truth be revealed? As the legal proceedings continue, the question remains: will Diddy be held accountable for his actions? The charges against him are extensive, including racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation and promotion of prostitution. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to these charges, but the mounting evidence and testimonies from former associates suggest that the truth may finally come to light. Prosecutors have painted a picture of Diddy as the leader of a criminal enterprise, one that allegedly trafficked young individuals across state lines, engaged in robbery and arson, and obstructed justice to keep victims silent. For Justin Bieber, the fallout from his association with Diddy may be more personal than professional. In the wake of Diddy's arrest, Bieber's past with the mogul has come under scrutiny. There have been questions about whether Bieber, who was just a teenager when he first entered the industry, was ever a victim of Diddy's alleged manipulation. The resurfaced video of a young Bieber with Diddy, boasting about spending 48 hours together, has added fuel to these speculations. Could Bieber have been exposed to the same toxic environment that Diddy allegedly created for others? The question looms large, especially given Bieber's emotional interview about his desire to protect young stars like Billie Eilish from the horrors he himself endured. In the end, the story of Diddy's rise and fall is not just a cautionary tale about the dangers of fame. It is a story about the exploitation that runs deep within the entertainment industry. It is a reminder that behind the glittering facade of Hollywood, there are real human beings who suffer, often in silence. As the legal cases against Diddy continue to unfold, the world is beginning to see the cracks in the empire he built, and with it, the darker truths that have been hidden for far too long. The journey toward justice is only beginning. But for many of Diddy's victims, the fight is not just about seeking accountability. It is about reclaiming their voices and breaking the silence that has allowed such abuse to thrive for so long. The unraveling of Diddy's empire may be one of the most significant stories of our time, not just because of the celebrity involved, but because it serves as a stark reminder of the systemic abuse that has long been allowed to flourish in the shadows of Hollywood. The Secret Life of Diddy. The allegations against Sean Combs. Amidst the growing controversy surrounding Bieber and his estranged relationship with Scooter Braun, a darker story began to emerge, one that would forever alter the public's perception of the entertainment mogul Sean "Diddy" Combs. Allegations against Combs had circulated for years, with whispers about his wild, drug-fueled parties, his influence over young artists, and his alleged role in the exploitation of vulnerable stars. But it wasn't until the first lawsuit was filed in 2015 that the public started to take notice of the disturbing undercurrents that had been lurking for decades. The lawsuit, filed by an unnamed aspiring musician referred to as John Doe, detailed claims of drugging, sexual assault, and manipulation at the hands of Diddy and his associates. The case was just the beginning, with more victims coming forward, revealing a network of abuse that stretched far beyond the Hollywood elite. What was once a scandalous rumor had now become an undeniable pattern of criminal activity, one that seemed to involve not only Diddy, but also other high-profile figures in the industry. Prosecutors and investigators began to piece together a harrowing story of coercion, abuse, and intimidation that had been carefully hidden behind the glossy facade of Hollywood. According to the legal documents, Diddy's infamous freak-offs, private, illicit gatherings fueled by drugs, alcohol, and sexual exploitation, were far more sinister than anyone had imagined. These parties were not just about indulgence. They were about control, power, and the manipulation of young, impressionable individuals who had dreams of making it big in the industry. One of the most disturbing elements of the ongoing investigation was the claim that Diddy had preyed on young, vulnerable artists, including minors. The stories of these young stars, who had been lured into Diddy's world with promises of fame, fortune, and mentorship, paint a grim picture of what went on behind closed doors. In some cases, these artists were drugged, coerced, and sexually assaulted. Their dreams of stardom dashed in an instant as they became trapped in Diddy's dangerous web of control. The pattern of abuse was chillingly consistent. Young people, often with limited experience in the entertainment industry, were invited to exclusive parties where they were introduced to Diddy and his associates. At these events, drugs and alcohol flowed freely, and the line between consensual relationships and manipulation became blurred. It wasn't just the artists who were at risk. Many of the attendees, both male and female, were celebrities themselves, drawn into a system of coercion that used their status and influence to keep others silent. The power dynamics. Justin Bieber's role in the scandal. As the investigation into Diddy's activities continued to unfold, the question on everyone's mind was, how deep did this go? Justin Bieber, once a rising star under the guidance of Scooter Braun, had been in the orbit of Diddy for years. The relationship between Bieber and Diddy had always seemed cordial, with Diddy often mentoring Justin and offering advice on navigating the pressures of fame. However, as the details of Diddy's actions became more public, it became clear that Bieber had been much closer to the mogul's world than anyone had previously known. Bieber's past struggles with substance abuse, his emotional breakdowns, and his very public battles with mental health had led many fans to question what had really been going on behind the scenes. Was Justin just another victim of the system, another young artist who had been manipulated and exploited by the industry? Or was he, as some insiders had suggested, complicit in the very practices he had now condemned? What was particularly troubling was the timing of Justin's public distancing from both Diddy and Braun. In a 2020 interview with Zane Lowe, Justin spoke emotionally about wanting to protect young stars like Billie Eilish from the dangers of the industry. He recalled his own experiences of being a young artist, surrounded by people who claimed to love him, but ultimately turned their backs on him when things got tough. As he spoke about his desire to protect others from the same fate, it became clear that Justin was trying to process the trauma he had experienced in Hollywood. He may not have explicitly accused Diddy or Braun of anything, but his actions, his social media unfollowing, his silence, and his emotional outbursts spoke volumes. The silence of celebrities. Why so many remain quiet? As the Diddy scandal continues to unravel, one of the most troubling aspects of the case is the silence of many of the people who have been complicit in Diddy's rise to power. While some celebrities have spoken out against the alleged crimes, others have remained eerily quiet, choosing not to comment on the situation despite being in the know. This silence has only fueled the speculation that many of these celebrities are not just passive observers, but active participants in the system of exploitation that Diddy allegedly created. 50 Cent, a longtime rival of Diddy, has been one of the few celebrities to speak out openly about the situation. In a recent interview, he claimed that many of the celebrities who have stayed silent on the issue were likely involved in the very parties and activities that Diddy is now being accused of. He explained that those who remained quiet were likely complicit in the alleged crimes, having participated in the so-called freak-offs, or covered up Diddy's abusive behavior. In his words, he did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually became public. 50 Cent's outspoken stance has made him a polarizing figure in the ongoing scandal, with some praising him for his bravery in speaking out, and others accusing him of trying to capitalize on the situation for personal gain. But whether you agree with him or not, his words carry weight, especially when you consider the silence of so many other celebrities who have yet to address the allegations against Diddy. The fall of Diddy, a dark legacy unveiled. As federal prosecutors continue their investigation into Diddy's actions, the scope of the allegations continues to grow. Members of the so-called Combs enterprise are accused of participating in a wide range of criminal activities, from trafficking and prostitution to arson and robbery. These individuals are alleged to have helped Diddy maintain control over his victims through financial manipulation, threats of violence, and physical abuse. They are also accused of helping to cover up Diddy's crimes by hiding evidence and intimidating anyone who tried to leave his grip. At the heart of the investigation is the question of how far Diddy's influence truly reached. How many victims were there? How many lives were destroyed by the toxic culture that Diddy built around himself? And perhaps most importantly, how many others in the industry were complicit in enabling his behavior? As the case continues to unfold, one thing is certain. The legacy of Sean "Diddy" Combs will forever be tainted by these revelations. What was once seen as the rise of a powerful mogul has now become a cautionary tale about the dark side of fame, the dangers of unchecked power, and the exploitation of young, vulnerable individuals in an industry that prizes success above all else. For Justin Bieber and other young stars who have navigated the treacherous waters of Hollywood, the question now is whether they will continue to stay silent or finally speak out about the abuse and manipulation they witnessed and perhaps experienced at the hands of those in power. As the walls close in on Diddy, the real story of Hollywood's dark underbelly may finally be told. and the truth will inevitably come to light.